Hey guys, John here from Sonic Drive Studio. I hope you're all doing well and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to do a little tour of my amplifier and I guess pedal collection too. I'm just going to do this on my phone, but I think the quality will be fine. I hope you enjoy this little tour and let's get started right away. All right, so here you can see my entire rack with all my amplifiers and my pedals and stuff. And I'm just going to go over all the amplifiers and I guess most of the pedals too. As of right now, I think I have 60 amplifiers. So I guess that's a good point to do this. And yeah, I think we're going to get started under my desk actually, because there's one amplifier down here, which is my Marshall JMP1 preamp. An awesome little preamp that I love a lot. And, you know, artists like Stefan from Deftones and Iron Maiden are known for using this amplifier. I think the guy from ZZ Top as well. And it's just a very solid rack amplifier. I hope that Marshall reissues this thing one day, but I doubt it. And then, of course, we've got the Helix and the Axe Effects and a couple load boxes up there. My Red 7, my trusty Red 7 that I love a lot. Nowadays, ever since a year or year and a half, or maybe 2 years even, I've been running most of my amplifiers through the Red 7, and it sounds absolutely awesome. And then the Captor X, of course. Yeah, and then I have, it's a bit messy under here, forgive me, but I use this stuff a lot, and I just can't keep it tidy all the time. It's one of my Whammy 1s, my Digitech Whammy 1s, for that classic whammy sound. And then a Whammy 5 as well. And the Digitech Freak Out, which I use for feedback simulation here and there. And then a Dunlop wah. I forgot the exact type, but it's the one that you can tweak a little bit. So it's a cool wah. It sounds really cool. So yeah, that's the stuff under my desk. Oh, I forgot this Digitech thing, the IPS33B, which basically is a part of my whammy collection. At one point, a couple of years ago, I decided that I wanted to collect all the whammies. And this is basically like the rack version of the Whammy 1. So it's kind of, I never use it at all, but it's kind of for that collection just because I'm a completist. Yeah, that's how I like to go about things when I collect things. When I start collecting something, I want them all, obviously. So that's kind of the bane of my existence, if you will. Okay, so I think we're going to start down here with the rest of the amplifiers. Now this is my Marshall JCM 2000 DSL50, which is a really cool Marshall amplifier. This is made in the UK. I'm not sure what year this one is from. I'm guessing like the early 2000s or something like that. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, I love this amp. It's I got this one used in a guitar store in my town. And I got it for like 500 euros or so. And it actually came with that flight case, which is kind of really great, actually. It's a great, very solid flight case. Apparently, this amp used to belong to a backline company, a local or a Dutch backline company, so they rented this amplifier out. And it's really versatile, actually. I mean, the cleans are quite bright and sparkly, but the crunch tones are great. And the gain channels, the ultra gain channels are really cool as well. Nice and fat. And the deep switch is really cool for adding low end. A resonance control would have been better, but I like it for shaping the tone a little bit. And then down here, I've got my Fractal X-Load and the Tone X capture box for when I want to make captures. Everything is set up with the speaker cable going in so that I don't have to, you know, plug in this setup every time. It's just there for when I want to use it, and I can use it right away, basically. And then up here, the PV6505 1992 original, which is my most recent new amplifier, the new addition to the collection. And it's awesome, obviously. I mean, it sounds like a 6505 or a 5150. It's really cool. I recently did a full in-depth demo on this amplifier on the channel, actually. So if you want to see that, definitely check it out. And down here, this actually is also an amplifier. It's the Hughes & Kettner, Stompman. It's a tiny amplifier, but it's a full-fledged amplifier. It's a solid-state amplifier. It's basically a clean channel, but you can also get some light crunch tones out of it. or use it as a power amp. So it's a cool little thing, really nifty little device. And this is just kind of like a switcher for putting pedals in the loops and then switching them on or off, which I sometimes use just here in the studio for when I want to try various effects. I haven't used it very often though. The Diesel VH2. Wow, that was a dream amplifier. I got this a couple months ago, and I've been really loving this amplifier a lot as it sounds amazing. I've also done a full review and demo of this amplifier on the channel recently that I really recommend checking out because it's a really awesome amplifier. And you will be seeing more of this amp on the channel soon. But I guess you could say that I love German amplifiers because I have a bunch of them and they just tend to sound really good and they're built really well and it's just great stuff. Now down here, we've got my very first wah-wah pedal. My dad got this off eBay when I was, I guess, 11 or 12. So that's quite a long time ago. I guess you could say like 1997 or 1998 or something like that. Maybe a little bit later. I don't think it works anymore. I'm not sure. It doesn't even hold like normal, you can't even plug in normal adapters. So it's probably like a vintage version. But yeah, I used it a lot and it was used quite heavily, but I used a marker to make it a little bit more black. But yeah, it's my first wah. And of course, Kirk Hammett got me into the wah. Oops, dropped a pedal. Oops. So that's the Sunless Effects The Winter, a really cool boost pedal as well. It's nice and sparkly. I also did a video on this one on the channel. Moving on. I've got some pedals here. I've got the Blackstar Department 10 Boost, which is like a tube boost for adding extra tube gain stages to your tone. Pretty cool pedal. Then, of course, the Boss SD1 Super Overdrive, another great boost, especially for Marshall amps. And, of course, the Marshall JVM 410H. What an amplifier. A really cool amp. 4 channels, 3 modes each. This holds so many tones. And it has a lot of modern high gain stuff in it, which is like quite unique for a Marshall actually. So it's a great amp. You guys know I love it. It's really cool. And then we've got the Laney Black Country Customs Secret Path Reverb, which is, I think, my only reverb pedal. And I use this in my videos quite a bit for adding some, reverb ambience to my clean guitars here and there. Then the Digitech Drop, and this is basically a part of my Whammy collection because it has the Whammy DNA in it. And then the Guptec Quebec, which is a depth and presence sort of emulator pedal that you can put in the loop of your amp. I also did a video on this pedal on the channel. And then up here, we've got the 4 Marshall 20-watt amplifiers, like the studio amps, I guess you could say. This is the Mini Jubilee or the Jubilee Studio. It's a really cool amp. It might be the most versatile of the 4, actually, because you've got this channel switching option for the lead channel. And so you can have like a clean tone, a crunch tone, or a high gain tone, which is cool. It has way more gain on tap than the JCM 800, for example. And then you can also sort of shape the tone a little bit further with this rhythm pull clip. So when you pull that out, you enable some diode clipping thingies, and the tone gets a little bit more tight and bright. And the EQ has a very wide range as well. So, I mean, for example, on the treble control, the differences are quite drastic when you turn the control. So I guess it's more active, I guess you could say. Very cool amplifier. And then over here, the DSL 20. Yeah, another cool amp. I think I also did a full in-depth demo and review of this amplifier on the channel a couple years ago. But yeah, it's a very affordable amplifier, but it does those high gain Marshall tones quite well. Someone traded this amplifier with me. It's a really cool amp. And then the Mini Plexi. or I guess I should say what's it called again? The SV20H. Yeah, and this is the SC20H. So this is like the JCM 800 that I use for that classic Marshall JCM 800 tone. And this is the Plexi. Now, I'm more of a high gain player myself, so I prefer these two amplifiers for my own style. But I really enjoy having these amplifiers for whenever I need those kinds of flavors, you know, those classic Marshall flavors. They're really cool amplifiers, and they do those tones really well, actually. Let's move on to this section over here. And then here we have the PV Miniheads, the Invective MH, which is a really nice amplifier for high gain tones. And, you know, you've got a bunch of tone shaping options like a boost and a gate and a nice clean channel as well. And of course the 6505 MH, which does that 6505 tone, but in a much smaller package. And it doesn't have that big oomph in the low end as the big ones, but it's a really fun amplifier, especially for playing at home or for practice or even for recording. You can get some really solid tones out of this thing. And this one as well. It's really quite an underrated lunchbox amplifier, if you ask me. All right, then we've got two Wong's amps. These are the hand-wired ones. So this is the 2204 HW, which is basically a 50-watt JCM 800 clone, I guess you could say. And this is the 1987 HW, which is kind of your 50-watt Plexi clone. And they do those tones very well, and they're very loud. And they are made by hand, obviously, hand-wired. They're really solid amplifiers and affordable alternatives to like the more expensive UK-built Marshalls. So yeah, cool stuff. Let's check this out. This is the Victory Kraken amplifier. I forgot the exact type, but it's like the pedal board amplifier with the tube preamp and then the solid state power amp. It has two channels, gain 1 and gain 2, and it's a quite cool amplifier actually. And then we've got my Lichtlärm audio pedals, amazing pedals. We've got the Gehenna over here, which is a great distortion pedal. Then the Amber Spyglass, which is also a great pedal. It's the EQ. And then the Aquaria, which is kind of a clone. Really cool. And then the Acer Hatter, which is the legendary boost. I've done some videos on these pedals actually in the channel, some dedicated video reviews that I recommend checking out. And then the Ritual, I did a video on this. I haven't released it as of right now, but it's going to be released soon. And it's basically a sort of Rat clone, but with a lot of added functionality. It sounds awesome. It sounds really good. And this is actually the first Rat style pedal that I've ever tried. Really enjoyed that. Yeah, this is the Tech 21 fly rig, the PL1 Paul Landers from Rammstein. It's his solid state amplifier in a compact package. Of course, I also did a video on this thing on the channel. It's a really cool pedal actually for that sort of solid state classic Rammstein tone. It's really cool. And then the Victory Super Kraken VX100. What a cool amp. A really unique amplifier too. With some really unique tones, like really tight and crunchy. And yeah, the crunch tones are really cool as well. I guess you could say that one of the drawbacks of this amplifier is that there is no presence control. So for fine-tuning the sound, sometimes I do miss that a little bit, but it's a very cool amplifier nonetheless. And then over here, we've got the Mud Killer by Electric Eye Audio. That's a really cool boost pedal as well for making things more tight. And then the Black Country Customs Laney Monolith Distortion pedal, which is a very cool distortion as well. And the Digitech Luxe detune sort of chorus pedal, which also, I guess, is part of my Whammy collection. Okay, moving on. Oh man, the mighty Red 7. The mighty Red 7 Leviathan Custom Joker Edition. One of my favorite amplifiers, and this amp is very special to me. It means a lot to me. It was built especially for me by Red 7, my friends from Red 7, really awesome folks. They make amazing amplifiers, and this one looks so cool. You can see it in full detail in my review and demo video that I really recommend checking out if you haven't seen it yet. And yeah, I look forward to using this amp a lot more in the future. It's really unique and it sounds so good. It's the Red 7 Leviathan Joker Edition. Yeah. Yeah, I showed you guys this one when it dropped on the floor. This is the Depth Finder by Amp Tweaker. It's also like a presence and resonance control emulator for in the loop of your amplifier. And then the Maxon OD808 doesn't need an introduction, does it? And then the Laney Black Country Customs, what's it called again? Steel Park Boost. I've used this quite a bit on the channel, actually. It's kind of like a modded tube screamer with some added functionality. It's a really cool pedal. I haven't used it in a while because these days I have so many cool boost pedals to choose from, but this is actually a very solid pedal. The Friedman BE-OD Deluxe, really cool pedal. Recently the input jack broke, so I had to repair it, but I did that and it's all good now. Thank the Lord for soldering. I taught myself, thanks to YouTube, how to solder, and so I was able to fix this myself. This is one of my Whammys. It's the DT. I used to have two, but I sold one of them because I couldn't justify keeping two of these. But it's a really cool version of the Whammy with, you know, with the drop built in and all that cool stuff. It doesn't have the classic modes, so it only has like the polyphonic, the poly shift. I forgot the name, but like the modern version of their pitch shifting. So it's like polyphonic. I prefer the Whammy 5 because it has the classic mode as well, which is a little bit more warbly. Then down here, we've got the Empress Pedals Deluxe version of the Para EQ, which is a really versatile EQ pedal. Amazing pedal. I did a video on this. I might have posted it already, but if not, I'm going to post it very soon. And this is like so powerful for shaping your tone. It's a really cool pedal and built really well. So stay tuned for that demo as well. And then we've got more Whammy specimens over here. This one is quite rare, actually. This is like the old bass Whammy. I imported this from Japan through eBay, and this is in a great shape. It's in perfect shape. I have the box as well. And this is probably the most rare Whammy pedal out there. And I think the guy from Tool, Justin Chandler or something, he's known for using this pedal. And yeah, it's a really cool, rare piece that I enjoy having. And then here is like the Whammy 2, like the guitar version of this. So the second version. It sounds very similar or probably the same as the original WH1, but it's built quite differently. And you can switch the presets with your feet, so that's also kind of unique. But yeah, those are down there. Down here we have my legendary Mesa Boogie dual rectifier, early 2000 3-channel solo head. I've used this in so many videos, and it's one of my amps that I would take to the grave, I guess you could say. I love this amplifier a lot. It has that fat and sort of loose rectifier tone that I personally really love. And yeah, it has a really unique tone to it when you compare it to all my other amplifiers. And yeah, I love this thing. What else is there to say? Then we've got the Digitech Mosaic 12-string effect, which is also a part of my Whammy collection, basically. And then the Boss PW10 V-Wah, which is a pretty cool wah pedal, actually. I got this for nostalgic reasons because when I was younger, I had this pedal as well. And the cool thing is that you can kind of make your own custom wah. And I tend to like really extreme wah sounds with a broad sweep and a sort of aggressive cue. And this pedal sort of allows you to do that. So that's a cool wah pedal. And up here is the Blue Guitar Iridium Amp 1. This thing is so cool. I've also done a full in-depth review on this pedal that I recommend checking out. It's like a 100 watt amplifier. So it's a full-fledged amplifier with 4 channels. Like the cleans are amazing, the crunches are amazing, and the high gain tones are really cool as well. It's got like the classic mode is a more loose sounding clean, similar to like a Diesel. And then the modern is super tight, like an EVH, for example. Really recommend checking those amplifiers out for a compact but analog sounding rig, basically. All right, moving on. This is my PV Invective 120. Such an awesome amplifier. It's like the highly souped up version of the 6505 with added functionality. A very pristine sounding clean channel. A boost that you can switch on and off. A noise gate. A crunch and a lead channel. It's got 2 effects loops. It's got a 9-volt power a thingy on the back for, you know, connecting your pedals. And oh man, it's got such great functionality, and it sounds awesome too. Really love this thing. And over here we've got a couple more Whammys, of course. This is like the modern bass whammy. It's a really cool whammy actually, and it has some different intervals than the standard whammy 5. So that's a really cool one as well. This is my second whammy 5. This is the most used whammy for me, so I have a backup in case one of them breaks or whatever. And then a whammy 4. This is the normal whammy 4, which is like the previous version of the whammy. It's really cool as well. It sounds a bit more glitchy and raw than like the newer whammies, but it has a very cool sound to it. And that one was out for many years before the next version came out, so a lot of artists and guitarists have used that version over the years. Pretty cool. Okay, let's start down here. This little pedal over here is the Engel Powerball, and it's actually over there because the LED lights are glitching. This part isn't really changing the color anymore, so I just covered it up with this pedal. Okay, so the mighty Engel Fireball 100. What can I say? This is also one of the amplifiers that I will take to my grave. It's such a good sounding amplifier. It's simple, but you can get so many good tones out of this, and especially for rock and metal, this thing can do so much. You all know it. I use it a lot. What else is there to say? Oh yeah, the Savage 120 Mark II. Man, this is also one of my most recent acquisitions for the studio. I did a full in-depth demo and review that I'm going to post this week, so probably after this one or right before this video is released. And it's a really, really good amplifier. It's quite insane, actually. So I can't wait to show you that on the channel. This is like a hot tone expression / wah / volume pedal. It's quite nice, actually. You can use that together with the hot tone stuff or just as a standard expression pedal or whatnot. It's really cool. And then we've got the Laney Black Country Custom Spiral Array Chorus, which is a quite nice chorus pedal. It's my only standalone chorus pedal, or one of the 2 that I own. And the Empress Effects Heavy Menace, a really cool pedal, really cool distortion pedal. I also did a full video on this recently on the channel, and it sounds so good. Do check it out if you're interested. And then, of course, the mighty Engel Powerball 2. Man, I love Engel amplifiers so much, as you can tell. And if you know the channel, you know that I love these amps. And the Powerball also is one of my favorite amplifiers. It's so versatile, and you can do so much on it, but it just sounds so damn good. And each of these amplifiers really do their own thing. I mean, the tones of the Savage, for example, are quite different from the Powerball, so might do a comparison one day. And over here, the Gamma Narcissus Warm Delay, a quite cool analog sounding delay pedal. This is the Chrome edition of the Whammy 4. It's a bit stained or whatever, but it's a rare piece. It's kind of like a collector's piece, I guess. And then the Amp 1, the Blue Guitar Amp 1 Mercury Edition for slightly more vintage tones. So the high gain tones on this one aren't as good as the Iridium, but this has some really cool, more vintage and crunch tones and clean tones. It's great for that stuff. Really nice. And then the Guptec Mad Honker, one of the most versatile boost pedals ever made. It's like a 41033 or Dirty Tree / grind / TC Electronic integrated pre / tube screamer with a bunch of modded tonal options, and you can put it in series and parallel, and this is so cool. I really love this pedal, and the design is also quite nice. Really cool pedal. And then the Invaders Amplification Badass, the 950 Badass, a really cool amplifier made in Belgium by the Invaders brand. It's kind of like, I guess you could say, a modded Soldano clone with EL34s in the power section. It has some really rich and fat tones in it. It's quite bright sounding, and it has a fat low end. Really cool for rock and stuff like that. And if you want to take it to the next level for metal, just put a boost in front and it soars. Really cool amplifier that I love a lot. Oh, and of course, I also did an in-depth review on the channel on this amplifier. So if you're interested in a very unique sounding amp, do check it out. Of course, I did reviews on most of these amplifiers, but you guys know that. Then the Peppers Dirty Tree, a modern legend or a modern classic, I guess you could say. Simple but effective, especially for extended range guitars, for tightening up things. Electroharmonic Soul Food, a simple and affordable clone. Really cool. And then this fun little guy, the Gamma Hades Metal Distortion. Not an amazing pedal, but it does a sort of metal tone sound. It's a quite fun pedal. The Angle Cap Loader, a really solid IR loader pedal that I enjoy. And then the Orange Micro Terror, of course. And another one of those switching pedals that I also had under my desk. And then the Wong's HD15 and the HD30. So these are kind of like SLO clones. And this is the 15 watt version with the 6 V6 tubes, the only amp in my collection with 6 V6 tubes. And this is the 30 watt version with the 6 L6 tubes. And I did videos on both of them, or an in-depth review on this one recently on the channel. They don't sound exactly the same. I also did a comparison that I still need to post sometime soon, which is quite interesting because, you know, the difference in power tubes in the power section will be audible in that video, and it's quite interesting, yeah. The EVH 5153 EL34 50 watt. I also used this amplifier a lot. I think it's the first amplifier that I bought of this collection, actually, so that's pretty insane. But yeah, it's a cool amp. The clean tones are nice. The blue channel is unique, quite fat sounding and raw. And then, of course, channel 3 does your tight high gain tones really well. The Boogie Mark 535. Well, that's another one of those amplifiers that I have owned for quite a few years now. And it does a lot. And sometimes I hate it. Sometimes I love it. It's a really unique amplifier. But I've used it in quite a lot of videos. And then the Orange OR15, like the little lunchbox, the only lunchbox that they make with the sort of classic orange head shell. One channel, but it goes from clean all the way up to super high gain. Really amazing little amplifier. And then up there we got my Tiny Terror. What can I say about that? It's just an amazing lunchbox. Great for clean, great for crunch, and even for high gain tones. For metal, you gotta push it with a boost. But it's a really nice amp. And then the TH30 by Orange, also a great amplifier. A bit more fizzy, a bit more modern and scooped, and the clean channel is very sparkly, but it's definitely a cool amp. And then the Mesa Boogie single rectifier, also quite new and quite a recent addition to my collection. Now, this happens to be my favorite rectifier. It's so good sounding. I did an in-depth review and demo of this amplifier recently on the channel that you might enjoy. Do look it up if you're interested, but yeah, it's such a great amp. I also made a comparison of this one versus my dual rectifier and the mini rectifier that I'll post soon that you might enjoy as well. The Rocker 30, which I bought from a friend of mine. It's a really cool amplifier. It sounds really fat and rich. It's not like a metal amplifier, but it's great for rock. Of course, with the boost, you can get some metal tones out of it, but yeah, it's a classic. They don't make it anymore, but it sounds really cool, and it's super loud as well. The Whammy Ricochet, of course, for the Whammy collection, a really cool little pedal. And the Orange Brent Hines Terror. It's discontinued now, but it's a fun amplifier. It kind of sounds like a modded Marshall, so it doesn't really sound like an Orange. It has a very raw sound to it, but it's really cool. It's great for stonery sort of genres. Really cool amplifier that you can find still in the used market, but they discontinued it because it just didn't sell enough. But yeah, it's a great amp. Then the Orange Rockford 50 Mark III. one of those amps that I'll take to my grave. Oh man, this thing sounds so awesome. You guys already know that, right? I've done so many videos on this, including a full in-depth review that you should check out. Yeah. Line 6 M5 Stomp Box Modeler, really cool. Multi-effect pedal. I got this from an acquaintance. This is like a sort of vintage Japanese chorus pedal that I haven't tried this thing actually. This is the Sunless Effects Coldlands, really cool preamp pedal, which is sort of based on a Mad amp. And this is the Gamma Atlas Boosted Overdrive. And then, of course, the Rocker 15 Terror. So that's like the little brother to the Rocker 30. But they don't sound exactly the same. I might do a comparison someday. Oh, yeah, the Driftwood Purple Nightmare. Also a quite recent addition to my collection. This thing is a beast. And, of course, I did an in-depth review and demo on the channel recently, which turned out awesome. I recommend checking that out if you're interested. Such a cool amplifier. Man, I have a lot to say about this amplifier too, but I don't want to make this video too long. This is my second Whammy one. I used to have 3, but I thought it was a little bit too much, so I sold one of them. And this is kind of my backup, I guess you could say. This is the Hot Tone Ampero Mini. I wanted to say Hot Tone, but it's Hot Tone. I've also done a video on this, which I will post on the channel soon. Maybe I've already posted it when you see this. And then, of course, the Ampero 2 Stomp, which is a cool multi-effect pedal as well. Moving on, the Orange Gym Root Terror. An amazing Lunchbox style amplifier from Orange, also discontinued, but it does sort of that rocker verb tone in a small package. Really cool. The MXR 10-band EQ. My Line 6 HX effects. Probably the most insane multi-effect pedal ever made. And then, of course, my PRS Archon 50, which I also love a lot. Man, what a cool amp. Also very well priced. I really recommend checking these things out if you want a huge rock tone with a sparkly clean tone. And yeah, of course, I also did an in-depth demo on this amplifier on the channel. All right, the Orange Dual Terror. So this is basically like the big brother to the Tiny Terror. It's 30 watts instead of 15 watts, has 2 channels, and yeah, it has a lot of power. It's really cool amplifier, especially for classic and rock tones, and for metal, again, put a boost in front, but yeah, it does everything else quite well. My using Kettner Grandmeister Deluxe 40. Got this one some years ago used, and it's a really cool amplifier that does a lot. Really cool. I love the using Kettner stuff as well. Mini Rectifier 25. Oh man, what can I say? It's an awesome little amplifier that I've also used a lot on the channel, as you guys probably know. I did a bunch of videos with this one as well. Definitely check those out. The Angle Iron Ball SE. Such a cool amplifier by Angle. It's like the Iron Ball, but with a lot of added functionality like delay and IR loader and all that good stuff. And it's such a cool sounding amplifier as well. It sounds ferocious and tight. And then the Laney IRT Studio. It's kind of like the small 15-watt version of this big guy. It sounds quite similar. It lacks a little bit of that low-end oomph, but it does the job for in the studio, and it's just a fun practice amp as well. It's a rack-mountable amplifier, but it is a full 15-watt amplifier with 2 EL84s in the power section. The Fireball 25. You all know this amplifier as well. I mean, I featured this a bunch of times on the channel, and I will keep on featuring it because it's just such a cool amplifier. It's the little version of the Fireball 100, obviously. It doesn't sound exactly the same. I did a comparison of this one versus the 100 watt, and you can hear the differences there. But yeah, it's an amazing little amplifier with 6 L6 tubes in the power section. And then we've got the Friedman Double J Jr., the Jerry Cantrell signature amplifier. Really cool amp. It does that signature Friedman tone, but the JBE switch gives it a bit more saturation and makes it sound a little bit more modern. So it's a great, great amplifier that I like a lot. Of course, I also did an in-depth review and demo on this amplifier, obviously. The Ampman Modern by using Kettner. It's also a really cool amplifier. It has the Black Spirit DNA. The Black Spirit is over there. So it's solid state. It has 2 channels, but it sounds really good, actually. The Orange Micro Dark. Fun little amps, but I don't really enjoy the tone of these amplifiers, to be honest. The tube version sounds superior in my opinion, but that's just my opinion. The EVH LBX 5153, very cool. This one sounds so tight and pissed off. I mean, it still has that kind of big low end, not as big as the bigger ones, but it really sounds like a big amp. I mean, it's a really cool sounding amplifier that I really enjoy a lot for that EVH tone. The Orange Dark Terror. The dark version of the Tiny Terror with more gain. It sounds a little bit more scooped and a bit more modern, but it still has that classic orange fuzzy tone. Really fun amplifier that I also enjoy a lot. So here's the Black Spirit 200, this solid state beast, 200 watts, 4 channels. I guess it's very similar in terms of features and tones to the Grandmeister Deluxe 40, but then in a solid state form, and it emulates tube sound, so it has a very unique sound as well. Really fun amplifier, really lightweight as well. And this is the Tube Meister Deluxe 40. It's much more simple than the others. It has 3 channels, no presence, no resonance, but it sounds absolutely huge. Especially the lead channel is really nice, and the clean and crunch channels too. Maybe this is my favorite using Kettner amplifier that I own because it just sounds so good. The PRS MT15, what is there to say? Another amplifier that I've used so much on the channel. It sounds awesome. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. It's just kind of like a legendary amplifier already. The Blackstar HD Club 50 Mark II. Quite a nice amplifier, actually. I think that the Blackstar amps get a lot of hate, but I don't know. I think this sounds pretty good. It's not amazing, but it's a very fun amp. I guess you could do some great gigs with this and practice with it and stuff. And yeah, it's really nice, actually. The Marshall DSL 100 HR. A really cool and a bit more affordable version of the the DSL. So it's more modern. And it does a lot, just as the DSL 50. It has 2 high gain modes, a clean mode, a crunch mode. And it doesn't sound exactly the same. I actually did... I did an in-depth video on this amplifier on the channel as well as the other Marshalls, but I also did a comparison of this versus the DSL 50, which is quite interesting. The Randall RD100 Diablo 100, also a very cool amp that I got. I traded this with one of my viewers, a great guy, and it's a very solid, modern sounding amplifier with a very unique tone as well, a very tight sound. But it sounds absolutely massive. And then my sort of regular made in China PV6505 that I've also used quite a bit on the channel. Yeah, it's a really cool amplifier. I'll compare it to the 6505 1992 original soon, so we can see how they differ in tone. And then the Laney IRT 60, the IRT 60H, also a great amplifier. It does a lot. I really like that you can have those, push-pull EQs to shape the tone. And yeah, it's really fat and big sounding amplifier with great clean and crunch tones as well. Really cool, actually. Woo! So that's it. Those were all my amps and effects. I hope you enjoyed my tour. It was a little bit rough, a little bit raw, but I had some fun, and I hope you guys enjoyed it too. Of course, drop a like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. What are your favorite amps in my collection? What are your favorite pedals? Let me know if you have any questions on my amps or my pedals, and I'll do my best to answer them all. Okay, guys, have a great day, and I hope to see you all soon. Bye.